Episode 207 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded November 1st, 2018.
A belated Halloween.
So Grant's not here, and when that happens, things get a little rowdy.
Randy, did you hear our theory last week about you not being here?
No.
That whenever you were completely not, I just can't make it this week, guys, the homework is always atrocious. Like it's a static show. That, like, we watched the Lena Dunham show, or whatever that's called. Was that camping? Yeah. We're like, how did Randy manage to skip these?
It wasn't a complete accident.
That's kind of a smart move, though.
So, but we do have a lot of homework this week. This is our belated or boo-lated Halloween show because we want to give us all a chance to watch Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is very much horror related. So that's why we're a little late to the party on Haunting of Hill House.
And I believe we will actually have a little bit further of the scary next week with Tell Me a Story.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, there's something that came in a little late.
These things that drop on Halloween, I can't binge that last night.
So we're going to be talking 3 shows from Netflix: The Haunting of Hill House, Curious Creations of Christine McConnell, and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. We're also going to talk Hulu's Light as a Feather, the return of Making a Murder on Netflix, because murder is scary.
Murder.
And then, by request of Kyle, we're going to throw a little Halloween grab bag action at you and throw Lucifer in the mix. We're going to talk about Season 1 of Lucifer.
Which... I'm going to double check on the break, but I may have just gotten canceled too.
No.
Jess found the show.
It got saved.
It got saved?
I believe.
By Netflix, right?
Yes. Now, it did the whole channel jump shuffle.
Wait, it's going to Netflix?
I believe
Yeah,
it got
I
moved.
think
They're going to be able to put nudity in this show?
They probably won't.
Oh, have you seen this show?
Yes.
We'll discuss. I
Okay,
love
okay.
Mike Carey's Lucifer, and I've seen at least a season of the CW show. It was fun. CW? No, it's Fox. It's Fox.
Yeah,
it's not
Fox.
a CW show.
But I can understand the mistake. But before we get to all that, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Randy.
I'm Les.
And I'm Kyle.
And if you guys haven't listened to us before, we always start with a few plugs. And one plug we want to make specifically this week is go out and vote.
Yes, go vote.
If Election Day is next Tuesday in most states, as you listen to this, you still have a chance to early vote and not wait in all those lines.
Yeah.
So please, go vote.
Yeah, early voting is so easy, at least in Travis County where we are. It's so easy.
If you are at home doing nothing, you could pause your podcast right now, and then you could go listen to it while you wait in line for early voting.
Even better, go vote. Offer to maybe drive some friends to the polls if they need it. Get a couple people who you know haven't voted. Get them to go vote too.
Get your parents' HBO Go password. Watch Pod Save America on HBO. They're going to give you tons of tips about how you can spend all day, every day thinking about voting.
Yeah. And another way you can support the TV Dudes besides voting, which supports us in a civic way, you can also support us in a monetary way by going to patreon.com/TV Dudes. Throw us $1 an episode. That's not too bad. That's less than you pay for a cup of coffee. And in return, not only do you help us make our show and help us, pay for our hosting costs and equipment, covering festivals, that kind of thing. Also, you get a bonus content every week. We talk about, non-TV stuff, about 20, 30 minutes a week. Yep. Extra podcast goodness.
You can wait in line even longer at your polling stations.
That's right.
And listen to all of our bonus content.
If you've never been a Patreon supporter, you could start this week and go back and listen to all the Patreon episodes.
Oh, my gosh.
You could wait for hours.
Almost like a challenge.
Yeah.
I dare you.
We have a new patron this week. That is Akil Saab. We'll say thank you for backing us.
Big thanks.
We are part of the Electric Sweater Network.
Electric Sweater.
Sweater.
And you can hear a variety of different TV-related podcasts over on that. Check out the Electric Sweater Network. And we have one last plug. We want to plug Pod Against Evil.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Pod Against Evil, Les?
Well, a friend of the show, Nick Tice, is a huge fan of Stand Against Evil over on IFC, which just on Halloween started its 3rd season. And when he started doing his podcast about this, he roped me into it on a few episodes. And that's just snowballed into me being on a bunch of Pod Against Evil episodes. And Conversely, I've now roped Nick into helping me with the second season of Good Die Young because I needed a co-host I could force to watch a weird show.
Yeah, that seems good. Have you revealed that yet?
Yeah, Happy Town is going to be the show.
Okay. Are you in the process of that right now?
I've gotten interviews already with Scott Rosenberg, Andre Nemec, and Josh Applebaum, and then am working with their offices to talk to the cast, which the cast of that show is nuts, so that's taken a little bit. I mean, the cast of that show is like MC Gainey and Francis Conroy and Sam Neill and Amy Acker and Jeff Stoltz and Jay Paul's. It's a crazy cast. But with any luck, we'll be able to put together something similar to the depth of interviews that I got for Middleman.
So if people want to get ready for that, is Happy Town streaming anywhere?
Happy Town is on the ABC app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is for free right now. I mean, it throws ads up in there, which I got to think it's fun to make people watch this because somewhere I feel like a ding went off in an office or a light went on somewhere of like Happy Town generated an ad revenue for the first, and someone at ABC is looking through a spreadsheet with a highlighter just baffled. Like, who the fuck is watching Happy Town right now?
Or they're like, it's time to talk to Netflix, get that revival going.
Right?
All right, let's jump over the news. So, American Vandal has been officially canceled by Netflix after 2 seasons. What do you guys think about this?
I didn't know it was supposed to keep going. I always hate when they phrase like, it's been canceled. Like,
Yes.
Weren't we all shocked there was a second season? I mean, it was one story and then they did another story. Awesome. But I didn't think this was going to go forever. Free these folks up to go do something else funny.
That was my take too. Like, I liked American Vandal. I know, Kyle, you didn't watch season 2.
Yeah, not a poop guy.
Oops,
Not a
you
poop
had
guy.
an idea. There's going to be 8 years of it now. Hope it's the only idea you wanted to work on for a decade.
I really liked American Vandal season 1 and 2. I don't need any more.
Yeah.
That's good. On the flip side, Penny Dreadful, which I think nobody was ready to say goodbye to when it went.
I loved it. I mean, I have friends that thought it was slow and boring and it just didn't click for them.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I really dug Penny Dreadful.
Penny Dreadful, for those who don't know, was set in Victorian England and loosely based on Gothic horror icons like Frankenstein, Dracula, and Dorian Gray. And they are doing a spin-off called City of Angels, which is actually less a spin-off and more spiritual sequel. It's going to be set in 1938 Los Angeles and focus on Mexican-American folklore instead of Gothic horror. And I am super excited about this.
I cannot wait. If somebody just told like, hey, we're going to make a mythology show, only it's not going to be Bullfinch. We're going to pull from a culture that you don't know the myths from. Cannot wait.
Yeah. The folklore sounds interesting to me. 1938 Los Angeles I start thinking LA Confidential.
Yeah.
Like I am all about this.
Yeah,
that sounds super good.
We'll talk about there was a film I watched during AFF that we'll talk about on our AFF special, but I want to send this to the writers of.
Yeah.
Just like, how excited are you guys?
All right. Lawrence Fishburne is heading a UFO anthology TV series called Rendlesham.
Okay.
The fish.
So it's that is the name of an air base, Rendlesham, Suffolk, in 1980, where people reported they'd seen an unidentified object in the sky, which then sped off before anyone could probably document it. And it's sort of in the same league as something like Fire in the Sky. It's based on a true event. Fishburne's going to play a retired American airman named Tyrone, who returns to the area to care for his wife's ailing father after being stationed near it during the original incident. It's written by Doctor Who and Da Vinci's Demons writer Joe Ahim, and will unfold in 1980 and also in 2020, 40 years later.
Okay. There's a lot of weird there. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yep.
But honestly, you got Lawrence Fishburne, who the last time I saw him only time I've really seen him on the small screen is Hannibal. That was an exceptional
He was great.
turn. I mean, yeah, he's going to be great. He also leads me to believe that there's a production level of this show where he would walk.
Yeah.
I liked Da Vinci's Demons. What I saw of it was just so nuts. Like I'm excited for a writer, even though that show didn't click for me. The ideas they were throwing at the wall were nuts. So this could be cool.
For the record, Lawrence Fishburne has been pretty prominent on TV. He's on Blackish as
We're ignoring
the
that.
dad.
That's not a thing.
He's good in it.
That's not a show, though.
You don't like Blackish?
I don't know. I haven't ever gotten into it.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, no. I'm thinking of. I'm confusing this with the cop procedural Blind Spot or Blacklist. I'm thinking Blacklist.
No, this is Blackish, where he plays
Sitcom.
he's sitcom.
Yes.
He's the dad of Anthony Anderson, and he's
okay.
he's great in it. He's great in that role. This is exciting news for Les, because Les always lives for the Game of Thrones news. He's
man, James Spader would be terrible in Blackish.
weirdly out of place. Game of Thrones prequel has cast Josh Whitehouse as its lead. This is interesting for me because I didn't know that they'd specified what they were doing with the prequel. Josh Whitehouse is in Poldark. I don't know what that is. I don't know what his character is. They're casting in London. And it is set 8,000 years before the events of Game of Thrones and will explore the time that Westeros was beset by a long and terrible winter during which the White Walkers and their white army descended on the weakened, freezing, and starving population. So it's basically picking up from the end of Game of Thrones 8,000 years earlier.
This is the Winter is Here season.
Yeah. This was what winter was like beforehand.
I do love just the idea of taking a basically like medieval sword and sorcery show and doing its past.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the throwback from here is Flintstones. Like you have dinosaurs as washing machines and shit. Because like it's not like Westeros was a particularly tech advanced nation land.
Yeah, I mean, I think they go back and they still what do they got? They still got swords, still got armor.
It's gonna look the same.
Yeah, it's gonna look the same. But that's the thing. If you like Game of Thrones, it's more of the same, but with new characters.
I wonder if they really will do it kind of realistically and have like the fashions be grossly different. And
I would guess no.
No, I bet it looks.
I would guess they're going to reuse a lot of the same costumes, a lot of the same sets. I mean, HBO spent a lot of money on Game of Thrones.
The one thing that survives in Westeros is this house.
It's weird how this castle fits into every story in Westeros. And then they're going to do one set 8,000 years later that's a sci-fi Game of Thrones. Same sets.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd watch that.
I would watch Jason X Game of Thrones. Yeah.
They should do the Cloud Atlas version where it's just like all the different time periods at once.
BBC America has ordered Terry Pratchett's inspired series, The Watch.
Yes.
This is based on something on a Discworld?
Yes, it's the Discworld Cops.
Okay.
Yeah, this has been off and on in development, or like so many Terry Pratchett projects has been just rumored about getting picked up. I don't feel like any Pratchett thing has ever gotten its due in the States. There's never been a TV show that really clicked here or that really... The Hogfather was a fun special, but like the BBC has done specials of these things, or in England they have. But I hope this works. I really hope this is cool. I like Discworld.
So it says The Watch features many famous Discworld creations, including City Watch Captain Sam Vimes, The Last Sign of Nobility Lady Sybil Rankin, the naive but heroic Carrot, the mysterious Angua, and the ingenious non-binary forensics expert Cheery. Together with Terry Pratchett's iconic characterization of death. This sounds weird as fuck.
Oh, Terry, have you read much Pratchett?
No, I have not.
So, did you ever read Good Omens with Neil Gaiman?
No, which is getting its big adaptation.
Yeah. So, like, Gaiman without Pratchett is a Nancy Boys and American Gods and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Pratchett without Gaiman is closer to, like, I like him better, but he's closer to, like, Piers Anthony. Like, it's puns
That's
and
what I was
screwball.
getting, yeah.
Like, it is crazy. Like Discworld is literally a flat Earth planet built on the back of a turtle. Like it's Discworld's just goofy.
Is it fantasy?
Yeah. So it's kind of fantasy, kind of sci-fi.
Okay.
And really just its own thing. But there's this pervading sense of humor to all of Terry Pratchett's stuff, so that it's like a Douglas Adams thing. Like if you like a Terry Pratchett book, odds are you'll like 80 Terry Pratchett books.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And so yeah, I really want to see just any end to his world done right on TV, because I think it'll crack the dam open. Like, there's so many ideas in these books.
So the series has been written by Simon Allen from The Musketeers. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it's executive produced by Hilary Salmon, who did Luther.
Okay.
So that seems like potentially good news. One last bit of news that I added in, the Falcon Winter Soldier Limited series. You guys hear about this? It's the writer of Empire. They're working on a limited series about the Falcon and Winter Soldier that is going to be on the Marvel streaming show, the Disney streaming channel, to sit alongside that Loki and Scarlet Witch series. This will feature the actual guys from the movie.
And because
Anthony Mackie?
I was thinking
Anthony
that because
Mackie,
Disney has this much weight to swing around and it's their channel.
Yeah.
I was thinking that of like they announced a TV show with this, and my first thought was, I wonder who they're going to get to play. Oh my God, they're just going to get Mackie and
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan aren't too big for TV.
No.
Yeah.
But it's still like I don't think CBS would
No.
Would drop the money for them to be in every episode.
What's crazy is like the technology of Falcon and Winter Soldier is not that hard to do on TV. They can do this and make it look good. Mm-hmm. And if they do like a cool espionage thriller or something, which these guys belong in, this could be great.
I would really like to see them like do a tighten it up and do a really cool, like you could do a rather not low budget, but a rather small story, like a Hawkeye series, like the Hawkeye, like the Hawkeye comics would be perfect for this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Hawkeye comics would be great for this, and you could definitely get Jeremy Renner to do it.
Yeah, what's he doing?
There's the thing. Mackie and Sebastian Stan had great chemistry as Falcon and Winter Soldier in Civil War.
Yeah, this will be fun.
Like
this is a fun pairing to me.
Yeah.
And Marvel, to me, this lends itself so well to comics.
Yeah.
Like Marvel team up.
Yeah.
I wish they'd even branded that.
They could also make it kind of a competition thing because we don't know what's going to happen to Cap after the next film. But if there's somebody who needs to pick up the shield, this could be them,
Exactly.
fighting
And if this
for
were
it.
the miniseries that explained whatever event solidifies somebody getting chosen as the next Cap.
yeah. Well, and that's
great.
the thing. In the comics, both of them have been Cap.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is exciting to me. I'm super excited. I'm more excited about this than the Scarlet Witch of the Loki story.
They could call it Captains of America.
All right, we're going to talk about some TV this week. So we're going to start off with Netflix stuff, and then we're going to jump on to Hulu, back to Netflix, and then over to Fox. We're going to first start by talking Haunting of Hill House. And Kyle, you've only seen 2 episodes of this show.
Yes, which if you want, we can briefly set it up, and then I'm going to step out for a second.
Yeah, I was
so-
just going to ask, like, I don't want to fuck up this show for you.
Exactly. That's what I told him. We were talking about this off mic, and I think that we are going to give some spoilers. And so if you've not seen Haunting of Hill House, first of all, drop what you're doing, pause this podcast, and go watch Haunting of Hill House for fuck's
Fuck
sake.
it, I'm walking out.
Yeah, if you like scary stuff at all,
Yeah.
I cannot recommend this show enough.
I honestly, I would put it high up on my favorite shows of the year. Like, this is probably going to be my best new show of the year.
Yeah, have you seen very many Mike Flanagan movies?
No, I haven't.
Okay, somebody asked me or open question during Halloween on Twitter of like favorite horror director, and of course all of the snapshots were Carpenter and Wes Craven.
Right,
And
sure.
I honestly, I think Mike Flanagan might be my favorite horror director.
What has he done?
So Oculus that came out a few years ago
Okay,
with
yep.
Amy Pond. I'm blanking on the actress's actual name.
Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, which I really enjoyed. Going back and watching Oculus now, it almost feels like a test run of several of the ideas that they use for Hill House.
Okay.
He did I think it's a prequel technically, that god-awful Ouija movie that came out a few years ago.
Yep.
They made a second one.
Yeah.
And then they hired Mike Flanagan to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's exceptional. It should have nothing to do with that other movie. Like, it should be divorced from that franchise entirely. Like, I wish they could just rip the name from it and not have, because I don't think very many people saw it because it was off of a bad property.
Right.
But it really is great. I'm trying to think what other almost everything he's done has been a horror movie, and they've all been class act.
Okay.
Where the thing that's impressed me most has been the family relationships being so dead on.
Right.
And then the horror being handled adeptly. Like,
Right.
I hate when, like, okay, you can construct a great jump scare, but I don't buy any of your people.
Right.
And then I don't really care.
Well, and that's what the key to Hill House is. Like, it's a family drama as much as it's a horror movie, and it's scary as fuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. The jump scares work and the ghosts work. And if you have read the original story of Hill House, you know how many ghosts there ought to be in this house.
Yeah.
And you realize at some point in the show that they are not showing you the volume of ghosts.
Right.
And in the final scene, you
sort of see it.
sort of see more. But it's allowed me to go back and rewatch this with people.
Yeah.
Like, I've dropped this on other folks and then be like, well, do you want to rewatch an episode? Yes, I'm fine rewatching an episode because I'm going to look in the back corners of every scene. I'm not joking. If you feel unsettled in any scene in Hill House, pause it. There's probably a creepy thing in the background, not necessary to the scene you're watching.
Yeah.
But there's a reason you feel unsettled.
Yeah.
Whoever decided to put Timothy Hutton as the older version of Henry Thomas is a friggin' genius.
Yeah, Timothy Hutton. That's a small role. Up until the end, it's a small role, but
and
it's
then
crucial.
he really crushes it. Like you have to have that actor, and Henry Thomas crushes it.
Henry Thomas
as the
is
young
great
version.
as young Hugh Crane. Yeah,
They break this separate from other adaptations of the story.
Yeah.
They don't. This is not about the. It's not just a straight through of a family moving in Amityville style and what happens to them.
because we've seen that story.
Yes, instead it goes into the same territory that the new Halloween sequel does, which is this idea that so a slasher attacked you in the 70s, you're probably expected to just go to school on Monday.
Yeah, what does
There's
that do to your
definitely
life?
not PTSD therapy for
Yeah.
you, and so like Laurie Strode is a fucked up mom.
Yeah,
and similarly, I love that Hill House goes child by child basically.
Yeah.
and every episode kind of focuses on somebody where you start to see what they experienced from the haunting when they were kids, because not all of them were awake for the same stuff. And then now how that makes them adults, and they've all broken differently.
Yeah, they're all differently damaged. They also, the fact that there was mental illness in the family, which is slowly unspooled and you're not sure if it's there or not, and the fact that there were psychic abilities that is slowly unspilled. So everybody's somewhat different. Like the way that Nell or Olivia, played by Carla Gugino, the way they broke is very different because they were differently sensitive to it.
Yes, but there's a bonding moment in some of the flashback scenes where she's explaining to Nell, like, I have it too.
Yeah.
Or not Nell, I'm sorry. She's explaining it to
Theo,
because Theo can touch sensitive.
Right. Yeah. Theo is more sensitive. Nell has a different sensitivity.
Yeah. Nell is connected to the house in a way that is scary.
And then I really like
the groundskeepers.
The groundskeepers, man, that's so good. I really like the two main siblings, Stephen, played by Michael Huseman, who that guy's great in everything he's ever been in.
He really is, and he turns up in bit roles on shows where you think. I feel like that guy turns up in projects where they got him for a steal. Yeah, like you don't know what actor you just hired.
I don't think nobody knows him just
Nobody
yet.
knows him
and
yet.
He's always, whenever I see him, he showed up in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. No, his price tag's going to double in the next few years.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. That man knocks it out of the park.
And then Shirley Crane, who's the other sort of straight-laced. Like, she saw the hauntings, but she's sort of trying to write them off as things that weren't really there, or like an anomaly of the house.
And her grudging, jaw set, stern. She is clearly the sibling who runs all the other stuff. Like, I will take charge of the family and fix it all.
Yeah,
but she's not the oldest, and her resentment of Stephen for being the older one, even though she feels like she's taking on the responsibility, and then their whole money thing, it stacks up so beautifully. By the time you're into the 5th or 6th episode,
it's episode 6,
and you have like 3 siblings in a room, and one of them says something just oblique about money, and you feel the chill in the air from it, and it works because they've done the legwork of setting up all of these relationships, and they're so believable.
That's what I love about all of this. Like, we're
not even talking about the ghosts yet, or the scariness
as they're leading every episode. Like you said, the first like 4 or 5 episodes, each one is focused on a particular character. We see what happened to make Luke a junkie.
Yeah.
We see what happened to
Oh, man, Luke as a kid is so adorable.
Yeah, and he's just ruined his adulthood. And we see kind of what Shirley's life is like. We see what Stephen's life is like. And we go from the more functional, outwardly functional, to the less functional. So by the time you get to episode 5 and you're seeing Nell, you're seeing what seems like the most fucked up of all the siblings, because she's the one who killed herself in the first episode.
And watching the other siblings over years take calls from her and then stop taking calls from her, and then be like, you know what, it's Nell, she's fucked up. Like she's like, and you understand that, like, that it hurts them to have to be like that. But it hurts Steven to not be able to help Luke. But when he runs into Luke on the stairs, he's like, fuck, I need that iPad, man. You can take everything else.
Yeah, these two, they're like, we've lost them, and then so that we're prepared for them to be fucked up. So that when we see Luke's story and Nell's story from their point of view, and we see what got them to that point, we see how abandoned they feel, and we see all the good and all the things that happen. Nell's episode, beyond having one of the biggest twists in the show, and a fantastic twist, was the bit where her husband dies.
Oh, man, I wasn't ready for that.
That broke my heart because, first of all, I was like, oh, shit, the ghost murdered her husband. And then you get to the end, you're like, oh shit, he just died. That was just bad luck.
He just died. She was just not she was never an adult prepared for that.
Yeah. It was just bad luck.
Yeah.
And and that happened to Luke too, just like a couple bad breaks.
And because of their childhoods, they weren't ready to deal with the normal 1 or 2 bad breaks that adults
that everybody gets. Yeah.
Like all adults get.
And then right after that episode is the episode in the funeral home.
Yeah.
Nell's funeral episode, which everybody's talked about the one take, like the long takes.
Yeah.
And I think that the effect of that, even if you don't notice it, is that I didn't notice it
at the time.
You are stuck in a room with these people, and you are right up close with all their family trauma as it's all just crashing into each other and building on each other, so that you are just tightly wound. And when the supernatural shit starts, it's even scarier.
Yeah, yeah. And the whole buildup of Cheryl choosing to repair or to do the funeral preparation on Nell. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, I was sitting there in the living room, like, out loud alone going, don't do the lady, that is crazy.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, with her husband there going, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, I can see not letting anyone else do it.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, putting yourself through that. And then later on when Theo talks about the body and her touch, and I loved the slight disbelief between the siblings about their, like, becoming adults and surviving with this means convincing yourself however you can that it didn't happen.
Right.
But that means that you can't believe your siblings anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And also, the thing I also liked about this is it really does build beautifully. Like, because every time you think you've got everything figured out, they give you another point of view and twist
it just
everything.
threads a little tighter. Yeah.
Like Carla Gugino's story. When we finally see that in episode, I think 9, we finally see what happened with her. And you're like, oh, this poor woman, she got screwed worse than anyone. Like, she lost her entire family.
Yeah.
And she murdered a little girl because of her mental illness and a ghost that took advantage of it.
Yep.
And it's like that reveal. I was
my
like,
God.
I
and then
we
the groundskeepers, the husband groundkeeper, his desperate, he doesn't outright explain what their deal is right then, but you know it. You understand from his obliqueness.
Yeah.
Like, their daughter's ghost is trapped in this house, and like the deal they make with Henry Tom, like, all of it is just so dead on, and it makes their weirdness make sense, and like how cagey they are. I really, this show just kept impressing me more and more. This was already a favorite ghost story, and I was really looking forward to what Flanagan would do with it.
Yeah.
And as it unfolded, I just kept getting more impressed.
This was phenomenal.
Oh, he directed Gerald's Game with Gugino.
Oh, which I need to watch. So the one thing I want to talk about is the ending. Because I've talked to some friends a little bit about this, and I don't know where you came down on this. The ending is weirdly happy for a horror show.
It feels a little like, yes, it's a tragedy. These people are all dead. Like, their family's fucking wrecked.
Yeah. Well, and the house is clearly, I mean, even if it's only a couple of ghosts, it is malevolent. It did get Nell killed. It did get that little girl killed.
It killed somebody before anybody even moved into it. It's full of ghosts.
Yeah. And yet, it's presented at the end as sort of this refuge for the dead. Mm-hmm. It's a weird tonal shift, and I can see where people might not be 100% on board with it. I liked it because I felt like we kind of deserved that catharsis after what we've been through.
And I feel like that's probably where that choice came from, because I was there. Like, I needed a dawn break at the end of that as well. But you're right. It wasn't until I kind of the next day that I was sitting with, like, that's a fucked up feeling for me to walk away from that with, given how I felt through it.
Yeah.
And they've talked about whether or not there'd be a season 2.
Yeah.
And at first, when somebody first even suggested, and I don't know whether or not.
Don't
but
do
at first
it.
I was like, don't do that. Why would it? This should be a miniseries. This was a finite book. Yeah. It's not a fleshed out. Having seen them kind of leave it on this weird refuge thing, I would now. That's the burr now that's making me kind of want a season 2 of exploring how this is not a good refuge.
Yeah.
Like, this is a malevolent house, and those ghosts need to be.
Well, they've also said, like, that if they went back to it, I think that all we'd heard was that they would not go back to the Crane family.
Yeah, that they would go somewhere else or go to another ghost in the same.
I would love to see the past, like, one of some of the other ghosts.
And so throughout all of the series, and I haven't gone back and paused for all of these, but apparently a shitload of the other stories from the house, like the other ghosts from the house, are in the corners of scenes, like watching another ghost fuck with his family, basically. And, like, just hiding back. And, like, I'd love to see them explore. There's so many other stories in this house.
Yeah, I was with you. In general, I was like, don't do a season 2. But now hearing that, I'm like, yeah, okay, if you guys do a season 2, I'll watch it.
Honestly, if they bring back Flanagan, I will give it a shot for sure.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of trust built up with that guy.
Cool. All right, so let's change topics a little bit. It's still Netflix and still Halloween-y, but let's talk about the curious creations of Christine McConnell.
I watched 3 of these. How many did you watch?
I watched all 6.
Okay, I'm actually looking. It's a baking show,
but it's also a Muppet show.
Yes, and there's a weird through line of story.
Yeah, there is.
I made it just far enough to get into the actual plot of the neighbor that thinks they're too loud that they now have kidnapped at the part I've seen. Yeah.
So this is a strange show. It's this sort of gothic-y house. This very beautiful brunette woman named Christine McConnell, who is a baker and has these macabre. She has a raccoon living with her that has like a fork for an arm.
Well, it's a whole. The raccoon is all roadkill. So there's a skunk tail and a raccoon head and a bunch of other. It's all roadkill sewn together.
And it's like is it the one that's like a little murdery? It is a little murdery, right?
It and the Egyptian cat are both a little murdery.
The Egyptian cat
is it's the Pepe Le Pew horn dog a little bit.
Yeah, and then a werewolf joins them.
Yes,
and these are all puppets or puppetry. I mean,
yes.
the werewolf
and they're all Henson Creation puppets. The werewolf actually has a actor by the name of Mick Ingus. Ignis.
Yep.
Who is from? He's almost all the monsters on Stand Against Evil.
Okay,
that's the reason I know Mick's name.
So this is her. That's her. She lives with these monsters, and she seems like this normal, nice, perky woman, like a Martha Stewart type. And she does these sort of macabre baking, these amazing creations.
Phenomenal. The house, that cookie house she builds is astonishing.
She does at one point, I don't know if you got to this, she builds a coffee cake.
No.
She builds a coffee cake that looks like a coffee urn.
Oh, that's great.
And she does these elaborate cookies and cakes and all this kind of thing, all with sort of a gothic, spooky vibe. And it's all way more elaborate than anyone would do, even though she's showing. I mean, I'm sure there are crafty people out there doing it.
And she is incredibly patient with the demos of it.
Yeah.
Like, I like that she explains it. Like, you should practice this on paper. You should do,
Yeah.
I haven't ever watched her YouTube channel, but I understand that she got really famous a year or two ago for decorating, I think, her parents' house or something for Halloween and going fucking nuts.
Okay. All right. So also, I believe cosplayer Dita Von Teese, she plays. She's married to Marilyn Manson. She plays Vivian. Is that her aunt? I think basically her aunt shows up, who seems like kind of murderous and maybe wants her inheritance. And then there's this guy that she has over for a date. Who seems like this Clark Kent looking dude, this very nice, but takes everything in stride. And you start to feel like maybe this dude's actually a serial killer. And then there's like a loud neighbor who comes in, and the cats, they
all kidnap him.
They kidnap him, and they're going to torture him.
Yeah,
like it is weirdly.
And you can never let the werewolf have flesh.
Yeah, it is weirdly like in the midst of all this cutesy bakery stuff. You see that Christine McConnell is kind of fucked up. She's Wednesday Addams.
It's straight up Wednesday Addams. It's like if there was a baking Martha Stewart show. And I'm so happy that there's no competition. There's no stupid prize or anything. It's just her showing off these wicked things she can make with this fucked up Mystery Science Theater kind of through line of like, oh yeah, I forgot. They're technically watching movies because Joel's stuck on a space station and this corporation's forcing him to watch movies.
Yeah.
And like Christine's making these things because she's got a werewolf house guest coming over.
Right. Or she's trying to get the rowdy neighbor to calm down a little bit.
So
she's making something for her crazy homicidal aunt, or she's making something for this date. Like there's just enough artifice to it. It's weird. It's not the kind of thing I would usually watch, but it's such an easy watch, and it's so fun and weird.
I kind of keep a backlist of baking shows, not because they're ever the thing I think to throw on, but every once in a while they fit a perfect spot of like, I don't really want to commit to anything. I'm going to watch an episode of Great British Bake Off or Baking Show or whatever. And like, yay, it's just fun. This is that plus some Wednesday Addams. It's so great.
So let's jump over to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is Netflix, but it feels a little CW. Because
it was going to be CW.
Was it? That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, Netflix outbid them and put down for 2 seasons from the get-go.
Okay.
So that's why this thing is called Part 1. And then there will later be a Part 2
sense.
because they got a commitment for their 2 seasons from the start. But they have not ruled out whether or not this could ever cross over with Riverdale.
Also, 2 Netflix seasons kind of equal like 1 CW season, right?
That's true.
CW seasons are really long. So these are 2 10-episode seasons. It would have been one.
I'm glad. I would not have wanted to see the stretch to 22.
And they could not have done the tone.
Yeah,
like this. Like these witches are not. Like, I love it. On the one hand, they are cute. witches with a daughter that they want to raise in their witch stuff, and
Right.
she's half witch and half human, but these witches have actually pledged their soul to the Dark Lord. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of killing.
Yeah. I love how lightly they take Satan.
Well, yeah, and like it's this idea
man.
that Satan isn't bad. He just wants you to be all something. It doesn't matter if it's
pretty
good
clear
or
that he is
evil.
also bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
like they're all nodding it away, but but there's a very much like all the other witches. They're about like
How deep have you gotten into this?
all of it.
You saw all of it. So I've seen 8. Kyle has not seen all of it. So Kyle,
Yeah, I'm like halfway through.
you're like halfway through. So you haven't seen when there's a cannibal feast.
Yes,
Like-
with the queen.
There's and not just like there is a there's a ritual that they do a lot of this. The Church of Night is like this patriarchal coven. Like it's run by this guy.
There's
and
a
it's-
high priest guy. Yeah,
and it's clearly implied that this once was witches and the warlocks have kind of taken over a little bit, and that maybe there's a little corruption in the church itself, and there's this thing where someone gets chosen and eaten, and it's called the Feast of Feasts.
yeah. It's a straight up lottery, but it's only the women. Like it's obviously like this weird patriarchal thing. And Sabrina, I love that her role through the whole show, almost every episode, is like seeing some fucked up witch thing and going, do we have to do it like that?
She's like, why are we doing this? And what I love is that often the answer is yes, we do, because she'll fight it and they'll come to some kind of realization, and then someone stands up and sacrifices himself and gets eaten on camera.
That was insane. Like she fully beats the whole.
Yeah. It's all
the whole
it's all
setup of it,
done,
where she points out like successfully that like you don't have to do this. We can get her. She convinces the high priest. They're all going to get around it.
Yep.
And then this crazy woman in the front row of the crowd stands up and just slits her own throat, and the crowd dives in.
Well, because they're all like, well, we were hungry anyway, and there's no.
Well,
use
they've all been
wasting
fasting.
There's no use wasting a good corpse.
I mean, so this show leans into like the beast and every. Do you remember all right? Sleepy Hollow is a terrible example for a TV show because it ran so long that it actually
ran too long,
ended up where we all thought it was going to start.
Yeah.
But when Sleepy Hollow began, I remember being shocked that the monsters and the demons looked straight up scary.
Yeah.
And like out of tone for the show, and it added this cool like kind of burr that kept me thinking about it. Well, and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina did the same thing. I kept going, this is Riverdale, this is Riverdale, this is Riverdale. Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, Sabrina slits a girl's throat.
Yeah.
I mean, she resurrects her, but she slits a girl's throat.
Well, and the resurrection goes fucking horribly wrong.
Yeah. There's the other thing I like
that
about
girl's
this.
just vomiting up grave dirt.
They mix in this legit, scary, spooky, like witch culture stuff in with the high school drama stuff, and they do it effectively. Like the high school drama stuff is not played just for laughs.
I like her mortal friends.
I do too.
I like the town. I absolutely love Michelle Gomez in everything from Green Wing to Missy and Doctor Who. Everything that woman's done has been Michelle Gomez.
Mary Wardwell.
She is fabulous. Yeah. But that was honestly her character is the first moment where I realized how off of my track the tone of this show was from what I expected. When it's like in the first episode,
the demon
this
or whatever.
demon thing shows up to her house and prompts her like to stab herself in the throat with a pair of scissors, and then takes her form.
Yeah.
And
that's the character from then on.
And from there on, everyone rolls with it. She's not – they don't solve that problem or banish that demon or kill her, or she's not an enemy or anything. She is a full-on confidant and helper.
Yep.
Like she actually – thank you, Miss Wardwell. Like she gets genuine, heartfelt thanks on at least 2 occasions.
So, Kyle, what was your thought of this so far?
Well, I liked it as well. You guys are kind of repeating a lot of my same thoughts, but I did get a little bit of at least in the first half of the season, a little bit of the tonal shift was, I definitely felt it.
Yeah.
It seemed like some of the situations, I couldn't tell if they were trying to go for more of a cartoony type of danger, like with the football players, or if they were trying to really say something about like, sexual assault and like how you should act. And then when the resolution was supernatural, I was like, oh man, that would really suck if you were a girl in that situation today and you were like, oh, how do they fix this? With a spell?
Yeah.
What?
The show got called out. So the writer of at least the first episode, I'm blanking on his name.
Roberto Guarzagasa?
Yes. So he took over the Archie comics a few years ago.
Yep.
And also was behind Riverdale. I believe he did the whole Life After Archie zombie thing.
He's the head of Archie now because of
Life After.
Because of Afterlife, Afterlife with Archie and all that stuff. Yeah, that's all his stuff.
So when they announced, like, I like his writing. He came from, I believe,
he's a playwright
background.
Yep. He famously did a play where Archie and Jughead were gay roommates.
Cool. I like his writing. I got to meet him at a Comic-Con once, and he just seemed like a really nice guy to leave this in the hands of. So when they announced Chilling Adventures, I was like, cool. His Afterlife with Archie stuff will come in perfect here.
Yeah.
The show still does a couple of weird things that I don't know if these are holdovers from being an Archie comic where you can't fully divest yourself. I mean, like the way that Iron Fist is always going to have a whitewashing problem, like inherent baked into it.
Right.
The show got called out at the start for like Prudence, the Prudence character, which is a wonderful bit of diversity in the cast. Prudence is one of the rare black characters in the kids. There's a scene where I love that they use the word harrowing instead of hazing. But in the harrowing stuff in like the second or third episode, I like the way Sabrina solves it. She gets all these ghost kids, and like it was a cool scene. And it didn't click for me as a white dude what was going on here. It wasn't until I saw an article afterwards that went, there really wasn't any reason for her to have to hang those girls.
Yeah.
And you just hung your only black, or one of your like two black characters.
Yeah.
But even though nobody says lynching and nobody means it that way, there's way too much back history.
So I would argue with that, actually. I do think there's a reason that has to be hanging, and it's because they hung 13 witches in Greendale. The whole point is that these ghosts died by hanging during the harrowing, and that witches are murdered by hanging. Hanging has a specific language here as well. Like the witch part of hanging is important. Like
because like it didn't jump out to me when I watched the episode. Like I thought, oh, that's a cool way to wrap it up. It wasn't until I went looking for like, well, I wonder how this show's going over, and I saw an article that was like, not enough to take the show down for them, but enough that they were like.
I understand what makes someone uncomfortable. But I think that they're not parsing the actual, like, there is a reason that they weren't. They could have done burned at a stake.
I think it also irritated them that, and this isn't particular to Sabrina. This is a trope from a lot of shows, but white girl in a new position or a new place threatens the established power, and so the black girl's now the villain. When Prudence didn't do anything except just be at school already?
That's not true. Prudence and her weird sisters came after her before she even went to the school.
Prudence cursed her before she ever went to the school.
Yeah,
and that was
Prudence started all that shit.
I didn't, honestly, when the first episode, when the weird sisters showed up, I didn't know why that grudge was already there.
Yeah, and it's because of the half-breed stuff. That's the thing. There's
she's a muggle.
The subtext there. It's not. They're trying to do biracial casting. They're trying to be. They're trying to be diverse in their casting,
and then show that this is not a race. Like while it is race, it's witch human race.
But they're also trying to use the metaphor that as a witch and as a witch and an immortal, she is a biracial character in this world, and so metaphorically she is biracial if she's playing with a white girl, and that's problematic too.
And these things just. There's almost the level of heavy-handedness that like how badly this would have to be done for it to really jump out at me would be huge. Like it didn't click it for me at all. It wasn't until I went and read some other stuff and went, okay, there's other groups that are having some issues with Sabrina. But all in all, I feel like the show at least is trying.
Well, and more to the point, I feel like there certainly you can take issue, and I think that's not unreasonable, but it's all executed fairly well. And the moment, first of all, it's got some scares. It's like decently creepy. The performances, Kiernan Shipka is the perfect casting for Sabrina Spellman. She's so good.
She's actually allergic to cats.
What, really?
Yes. Apparently they discovered that like a week into shooting she had hives, and she is legit allergic to cats.
Their dude they got is Harvey.
Yeah, he's great.
That could easily have been just murder this guy already. Like, you could easily have been a place where you're like, you just wanted to get with Nick Scratch, or you just wanted to get with Prudence for that matter. He reminds
me of the X-Men's Quicksilver from American Horror Story.
He's very likable. Giving his family a sort of witch hunting background.
Yes.
That's a clever little bit. I love Ambrose. I love her aunts.
Yes, both aunts are great. Ambrose is great. I really like her high school friends.
Yeah,
both of them. I like Jazz is the actress's name, and I can't think of her friend's name that loses her eyesight.
Rosalind Walker.
Yeah, I love her. Like her losing her, the whole family curse on that. The friend going through the Putnam going through the gender identity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her blind aunt misgender or saying, "Oh, you know, hello, young fella." Like, "Oh, no, ma or grandma, this is my." And I love Putnam being like, "Shut up, it's fine." Like, there's just some really great moments.
There's a lot of sort of just casually. There's genderqueer in here. There's a lot of stuff that's just left without being addressed. Like they definitely went out of their way to make this a diverse cast and to sort of address modern high school issues.
My biggest issue with the entire show is a purely technical one, and it's one that they did for atmosphere, and when it works, I'm fine with it. It's only every once in a while it doesn't work. They keep doing the center focus thing, and almost every shot, like Randy, if I'm staring at you, you're in focus, and then all my peripheral vision blurs.
Right.
And they do it on a lot of shots. It gives it this fuzzy, you can't see what's lurking in the corners.
Yeah.
And a lot of the houses, especially in the Spellman house, are so overstuffed with curios and creepiness that doing it really, like the Badaben episode when they're running around the house and stuff, like there's all these times where like you almost feel like somebody's been roofied because like the center of the frame is in perfect focus and everything around it is starting to fuzz out. And I know they do it for this soft gauze hammer horror kind of effect, and it works, except occasionally I feel like I've tilted my head wrong at a 3D movie, and I'm like, why is everything blurry? And like my eyes want to make it focus. Like I want the corner of the frame to focus, and it doesn't.
Well, I really like this. I'm definitely going to finish the last couple episodes.
Yeah, I can't wait for the second part. I've really dug it.
I also think, too, this is one where I could see the show getting better the more they write it, the more those actors play those characters.
This tone is so odd to like the line is so odd to walk that I feel like the more practice they get being I don't know of another show that walks this line, and I think the more practice they get being their show, the better this will be.
Yeah, because you kind of have to go out on a limb to really sell this.
And they really, at the end of this part one, they really set it up for what Michelle Gomez's plan is, like what Wardwell's goal is, and what a little more of like what Sabrina. So if you haven't seen the last couple, there's some final stuff that has to happen.
Okay,
that sets up kind of a different. She's going to be in a different situation a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, and by the way, also I think every episode is enjoyable on its own.
Yeah, they've all been. It got a little more not monster of the week, but more standalone than I expected.
The Dream Demon episode is a really good. That could have been a Buffy episode. Yeah, that's just a solid, Monster of the Week episode mixed in with, and it does have continuing stuff, but that's a solid Monster of the Week episode. The stuff with the Queen of the Feast is also could easily have been a standalone episode.
Yeah,
so it really works. I'm really glad this is 10 and not 22.
Yes, I'm really glad this is on Netflix and that it's 10 episodes and they're going to do a seam and then pick it back up.
All right, let's real quick talk about Hulu's Light as a Feather, which you and I watched. Kyle, you did not get a chance to watch this show.
I got partway through the third episode and realized that I've been trying to watch this for days. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I keep going back and like, I should like this and I'm going to try to watch it again. And there's nothing there for me. It just doesn't I don't feel like it's slow, really. I just don't care about any of the characters. And I had some kind of issue in the first episode of why they would even let this new girl be at their pre-party.
Yeah, the pitch is this. There's a group of teenage girls. They do a game of light as a feather, stiff as a board, and this graveyard and Halloween.
Which is kind of a Bloody Mary party
it's a little party game. And then they let the new girl tell them how they're going to die before they do this thing where they each lift each other or lift each other.
Which is a super weird and creepy light as a feather, stiff as a board, especially since that game I don't think has anything to do with you dying. It's just about levitation. It was an odd tag on. She's an odd tag on to the thing. They've invited her to their cemetery pre-gaming, like pre-party before a Halloween
because
party.
One of them spilled. There was a prank that went wrong.
Yeah.
And they carried her. They covered her in blood. And they felt bad, so they invited her, and she becomes part of their friend group. And then, the queen bee of this friend group dies in the way she described. And one of the girls, the smart one, is like, look, we need to get this bitch out of our friend group. She's crazy, and she probably killed our friend.
And she's got crazy coming off her in waves, in a Dan Stevens way. Can you dial back your crazy at all? No one in high school would friend you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Especially, and they wouldn't stay friends.
No.
There's also one of the girls is having trouble with her alcoholic mom, and one of the girls was having an affair with the boyfriend of the girl who died, and there's they went and they're like, the writers' room did a very professional job. They're like, okay, every character has a story. Everybody has an arc. Here's the main story. Everyone's going to have an arc that plays out. It's going to emotionally resonate. And it all should on paper work. And it just doesn't. I just did not give a shit.
Yeah. I like I said, I watched the first episode twice, and then I pushed through the second and into the third, and I realized like I'm still don't engage. I still couldn't tell you who these people are. And
I was still waiting for the twist. I'm like, I'm 3 episodes in. I still don't know what this show is actually about. Like, I don't know if there's there's clearly supernatural stuff going on. I don't know what this crazy girl is up to, or why I should care. Like, at least early on, you got to give me an episode from her point of view, so I know something.
What is her deal? Yeah, I don't want to wait all season to find out her deal.
And I felt like this would be one of those where I was going to get 10 episodes, and then they'd tell me what the deal was the whole time, and I was not there for all the teen drama.
Yeah,
not my thing. All right, okay, let's jump back to Netflix and talk about Making a Murderer season 2.
I do love that. In every time we've discussed this show, the Halloween episode coming up, we've talked about Making a Murderer on the list, and every one of us has added the caveat of like, no, but it should fit there. It's fine. It's in theme. Murder's scary.
Murder's scary.
I think it speaks really, really well to 2018 that we have to clarify that like, no, murder is still scary.
Yeah, murder's still scary.
Like, because I was laughingly of like when we announced it to be the Halloween episode, I'm like, oh, so just a week watching the news?
Yeah, right. Yeah, every week of 2018 is scary.
Yeah.
Please vote. All right.
Speaking of watching the news, Netflix is running reruns of CNN and
that's crazy.
Local TV affiliates now, it looks like.
So, Kyle, I think you're our Sherpa on this one because Les didn't watch season 1.
I've never watched Making a Murderer.
So you guys didn't just get that joke then?
No.
Okay, so in this season of Making a Murderer, they do a lot of clips of like local news coverage.
Oh, really?
So that's why I was saying Netflix is airing.
Just basically is airing read.
Yeah, because this is a lot more of the same. And unfortunately,
same case throughout?
Yeah, it's the same case. This season, they're going to focus on the attempts to get Brendan Dassey's conviction overturned because of the interrogation.
Which, spoilers, if you've read the news, they already told you how that ends.
Yeah, that's true. You got to go into this and you already know because they made a huge spectacle of this with the first season. And as you kind of go into this a little further, you realize even if this wasn't like a big conspiracy theory type thing and you were going to go in and actually get these guys out of jail, the problem, it's already become a spectacle with the Netflix series.
Right.
Nobody wants to take this case for the simple fact that they're not going to bow to mob mentality. And that's what's happened. Like, these guys have become rock stars. These dudes who could have very easily
might have
killed somebody. Yeah.
And even if they didn't, I don't know about Brendan, but Stephen Avery's a fucking evil fuck. Like, you can tell that from watching. It's kind of like when you're watching The Jinx with Robert Durst. Even if he didn't do anything, he did something.
Yeah. You may not have done this, but man, you're up to something.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole situation, you have to just want them to be guilty, or it puts into question, all the faith we put into our laws and our whole system of government. The prosecutor they bring in, she is this famous person, very high profile. She has some very convincing arguments, but again, because the first season of the show was so successful, nobody wants to hear.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I want to see her win, but do I want to see him get out of jail? I don't know. They look at Brendan Dassey's family a little bit more, and there was some there's some weird stuff going on with his brothers as well.
So would you recommend watching this?
Oh my gosh. Definitely.
If you like season 1.
If you like season 1 and you're going to be curious, give it a couple episodes. There's so much other great stuff out, especially this time of the year.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be an easy one to skip. And in fact, I think they might have dumped it right here because I want to say, didn't the first one come out at a different time of the year?
I think it did. Yeah. And I wonder if it's possible they were like, well, this was really successful. Let's do a season 2. And they're like, oh, there's not another
season 1 kind of ruined season 2.
Yeah. So I don't see them doing a season 3. And honestly, I think this type of television is getting a little tired.
Yeah.
I liked what they did with Evil Genius.
Mm-hmm.
It was less episodes, more of a documentary. Mm-hmm. And that person was dead when they made this. They didn't turn her into a celebrity, with this. So it makes you wonder if Netflix is being a pinch irresponsible by, making these guys so popular.
There's a part of me that wonders if anything has gone through the full cycle of existing and being satired quite this fast as this genre of shows. Like how many years of horror slasher movies did you have before you had,
Scream?
like Scream or Scary Movie or whatever?
Yeah.
Action movies were on for decades before you got Hot Shots and all those.
Right.
Like we had American Vandal, like boom. Cereal? Cool, yeah, we got you.
All right. So I'm going to reach into the Halloween grab bag. Grant's going to kill us. Kyle, you wanted to talk about Lucifer.
Yeah.
Not the concept, not the Lord of Darkness, but the show.
Yeah. And, I feel kind of bad. You had all this great homework for us, all these great Halloween shows. And then I'm flipping through, I forget what it was. Oh, yeah. Lethal Weapon just not scratching my fox itch. And I come across the show Lucifer.
Kids, do not get a fox itch.
That sounds
wear a condom so you don't get a fox itch.
I'm putting this ointment on my fox itch, watching Lucifer.
It's good for what Rob tells you.
And I am really bummed that I didn't show. I missed it. I'm really bummed I didn't jump on earlier with this show because I just heard Tom Welling is joining season 3 or has joined season 3.
Is he playing Clark Kent?
That'd be so funny if they just brought that character into this universe.
Superman. Yeah,
it's Lauren German, I believe, is the actress's name that plays Chloe, the cop.
So
and she was also in Happy Town.
I've seen a couple episodes of Lucifer. My kid occasionally gets into procedurals and my kids watch way more CSI and NCIS than I've ever watched.
I like procedurals more than you as well,
most people like procedurals more than me. Lucifer. Was a comic series spun off from Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
That Mike Carey just killed it with.
Mike Carey so you've read it.
Yeah.
It was a 60 issue. It's in like 5 or 6 graphic novels now.
It's just great.
It's really good.
I love the Tim Hunter Books of Magic series, and he's also touches that side of the DC universe.
So in this universe, Lucifer basically quits. He's tired of running hell. He quits. He goes to Earth. He starts a piano bar.
Yeah,
that's his thing. And then
he takes Mazikeen with him. He takes which is this half-faced demon that doesn't speak.
And so in the comics, he gets involved at some point, he gets involved with the Asgardians, like Loki and some of those guys come to him, and it's all about being the Lord of Lies, and he deals with other a Japanese demon and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a very mythological thing about being the ex-Lord of Hell.
Yeah, the storylines all deal with a little bit that you can't abdicate. It's something like angels show up at one point and are someone has to run hell. And he's like, yeah, when I rebelled from heaven, I really didn't agree to an eternal shit job.
Yeah.
I don't want to run your hell.
It's a great series.
Yeah. And so there's a whole problem with that. But mostly it's about the fact that you now have what is still a phenomenally powerful cosmic being that is just hanging out in LA. So when shit starts to happen with other beings, there's a player on the board that you can now just go ask, well, I don't know, let's go down to that piano bar and see if Lucifer can help. He wasn't here last year and so other cosmic beings start to like the Loki Asgardian kind of stuff.
When they started developing this for TV, they were like, hey, what if instead of all these mythological things, what if he helped the cops solve crimes?
Oh, I've never seen that on a TV show before.
They took it down so small and while they did keep I like the actor that they got for Lucifer.
Yes.
But his enjoyment of it is really fun. And
I would honestly say that's the only reason this show works.
Yes.
Tom Ellis is the reason this show works.
He carries it big time.
I can't think who they cast as as his shrink. But in the first season, she's great.
Yeah, I love her.
And I like her problems with trying to dealing with thinking he's being metaphorical and then realizing shit you're not. But then that was fun. But really, they took what was the coolest concept using Lucifer that I had seen in years. The Mike Carey run of this comic. Or he's the only writer on this comic, really, I think. And then they made it an incredibly trope, if you told any TV writer room, we want a procedural with the devil, this is what you get.
Yeah. I hated
then
on
why
general
use
principles
Lucifer
as a result of that.
Yeah. Why use the concept name?
And then I saw some of it and I'm like, you know what? It's not the comic, but it's a solidly produced procedural.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Exactly. When I let go of wanting this to be Mike Carey's Lucifer,
yeah,
I enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I don't. I just there's just too much on TV, and
So,
I haven't kept up with it. But Kyle, what got you into it?
Yeah, what clicked for you, Kyle?
So I feel like Fox can only produce like so good of a show. Like Fox, they just while other people are paying for it, the shows just can't be like a certain level of good. This is like the best a Fox show can be. I've really kind of had like a love-hate with relationship with like different Fox shows over the years. I feel like anytime they get a good one, they always cancel it too soon.
Or running out of order, or
yeah. But sometimes it is nice to be able to go get some drink from the fridge or something and not come back to your TV and need to rewind like 15 minutes. Like, what did I miss? And the procedurals, they kind of give you that. You know the beats of the story, but you got these really charming characters in this really great setting to experience the story with. So this isn't going to be your bread and butter, but I mean, this is, they're the nuts on the counter. They're the little side order.
I also really love, and I may have seen further. I saw all of season 1 and part of season 2, so I may be a little further than you are.
Oh yeah, I'm only like halfway through season 1.
Where they go with Maz's character, I love Mazikeen. In the comics, she's a whole different thing. Like the Mazikeen on the show is a very different character, but her demon that's loyal to him but is just on Earth with him, but really doesn't have the same like, look, I know why you want to take this walkabout. I'm just here.
Yeah.
And like Maz keeps trying to keep herself entertained, and that usually involves either like sex or just outright killing somebody, or the sex kills them. Like, but like a night with Maz just fucks people up. And there's a point. There's a point where I've seen now where she's figured out that like she doesn't really want to be a cop, but helping hunt people down is fun. And it's nuts. Like you see her like, oh, I'm good at this. Like she's got knives and she's better at all this shit than anybody else. And like it's So like her and Tom Ellis, is that his name?
Yeah, Tom Ellis.
The actress that plays Maz and Tom Ellis, their just gleeful charm at being themselves on this show is so what makes it work.
Yeah.
There's a good cast. I see like D.B. Woodside, who I always like, plays an angel, I think, a minute deal.
Yeah.
Rachel Harris, is that his shrink?
That's who we were trying to think of earlier.
Rachel Harris is great. Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica.
She shows up as his mom.
Who's mom?
She's Lucifer's mom.
What?
I believe they start season 2 with like, and your mom is here.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And then I see Tom Welling, as mentioned, and Kevin Rankin, who I always like. He's only in like 7 episodes, but there's good people on this show. I'm not going to be watching it. But,
you were saying earlier it's going over to Netflix.
But I believe it has jumped, and I'm not entirely sure, but I know that there was a whole Save Lucifer campaign, and I believe it was successful.
Netflix. Season 4 on Netflix.
Yep.
It is kind of interesting when you think of the story of Lucifer from the Bible, or just like the idea that somebody would be in charge of hell. You're like, wait, that is kind of righteous, like punishing the wicked and like being responsible. God ain't doing it, It's like, so to see this character, it's like, this is like what the Bible says the devil would be like, but it's like it can't exist both ways. He's either, torturing you or charming you. And
I enjoyed even though I still wanted them to go, I really wish they had just pulled whole plots from the comics, but I yell this at every comic show. I was happy that it is a completely different iteration of this character than Mark Pellegrino over on Supernatural.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because like that's been my televised Lucifer that the people have had to deal with now for a few seasons of like, he's not a bad guy, you can't trust him at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he will help you out.
Yeah.
He just will also backstab you when it's done.
My favorite devil's Tom Waits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got a favorite devil, Randy?
I don't have a favorite. My favorite devil is actually from The Simpsons.
Oh, that's a good one.
Peter Stormare in Constantine the movie. Not an overall great movie, but it did give us an amazing Angel Gabriel, like androgynous Angel Gabriel.
Yeah.
And they put Peter Stormare, I think, with no undershirt, like no shirt, just in a white tux jacket and pants.
Yeah.
And it looked like he had just stepped in tar, like up to his mid-shins.
Yeah.
So like his suit and everything was like Southern Gentleman perfect, except that he looked like he stole it off of someone and then walked through mud. It was a great look of like, yeah, you're classy, but not like there's something inherently rotten.
All right. Should we take a break and then have our Halloween candy?
Let's do it.
All right, guys, it's time for dessert, or in terms this week, Halloween candy.
Rot your teeth out.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions. Full disclosure, I did put the thing up a little late this week.
And we will be rating these questions: candy corn versus full-size candy bar.
Yes, that's correct.
Where does banana Laffy Taffy fall on the scale?
Candy corn, below
Yeah,
candy corn.
yeah, below candy corn.
Nice.
And then, of course, fun-size Snickers, which is a solid question, but not as good as a full-size candy bar.
No, not.
All right, our first question comes to us from Michael Gustini, who says, "Happy Halloween, dudes. First off, let's rejoice in the news that Showtime just greenlit a Penny Dreadful follow-up.
Love you, Michael. Yes.
Rejoice.
On to my question. My favorite Hill House episode was the one that took place during the two storms and featured a nearly continuous camera take during the entire 56 minutes. It's a gimmick that's being used a lot these days, but damn, it's cool every time we see it. What are some of your favorite episodic gimmicks on TV?" I will say that the long shot, like I still remember True Detective doing that big long follow sequence. Like that is, I don't always notice it at the time, but whenever someone mentions it, I'm like, oh yeah, there was something.
I almost
special
never
about
notice
that.
a oneer
Yeah.
like at the time, unless it's like rope or
Yeah.
something where the gimmick of the movie is doing
Yeah.
this.
But you always subconsciously notice
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's like we talked about in Hill House. Like,
Yeah.
there's times where the camera motion changes, and it is to change how you feel about it.
Right.
Like I love sometimes in shows where they'll roll the camera. When a character's having like their
Right.
whole world's been
Yeah.
torn apart or whatever, and like they'll let the camera like drift off axis and roll.
Yep.
I always am going to think of the Fly episode from Breaking Bad
Yeah.
as far as gimmick bottle episode
Yeah.
or gimmick weird episodes. The baby episode from Supernatural. They did an episode that they did a procedural episode entirely from the car's point of view. like if you were the car watching them like get in and out and discuss little snippets of the case.
That's crazy. Was that how late in the show was that?
Oh, it's in the last couple seasons.
Because they have started getting crazy experimental on Supernatural.
I say this every time we bring up Supernatural, but I love this show simply because at this point it is like some kind of can you do it writer's game.
Yeah.
Like the show's on like its billionth season and
Yeah, you're right. Someone was like, how about an animated Scooby-Doo crossover? Like, fuck it. We'll do it.
yeah. Like let's have the guys show up at a high school where they're doing a play about Supernatural and they have to watch it.
Yeah.
Done. It's amazing.
Yeah, you're right.
Wow.
It does feel like a game of can we do this?
Yeah.
in the writer's room. Kyle, do you have any favorite tricks?
Ooh, I had one and then I totally lost it.
I'm a big fan of shows that completely break off, like especially sitcoms that do this, that completely break their Halloween episode out of continuity completely. And like
Community?
yeah, Community, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, or whatever iteration of
Yes.
that. Every season they would do a Halloween episode where everybody died or they all switched bodies and shit did not get fixed.
I feel like News Radio
I think
did
News
that
Radio
too.
did similar stuff.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, it's Halloween, break it out.
Yeah, sure. But everybody gets killed. Why not?
Yeah, and not solve it. Like, everybody's brains get switched. The mad scientist is real. Yeah.
And then The Simpsons did that great bit where, of course, they had the Homer get the extra head attached, and there's like, well, I'm sure it's a Halloween episode. And they're like, next week on The Simpsons. Yeah.
Yeah.
The gimmick that I like, and it's not so much a camera trick as like as a stylistic thing. I like the look at the camera. I love like just a little break in the fourth wall. Mike Schur shows do it. The Office, Parks and Rec.
well, The Office and them, they all have a fake. They're not really breaking the fourth wall. They have a camera crew that is in the story in the room.
Right, but a little bit of those.
That
when you
Ferris
get-
Bueller, like,
when the character gives you that look, when they react to it, and similarly, Arrested Development did that kind of thing where it was like the narrator, something that undercuts the main story. I like that little bit where you can. It works in comedy. It wouldn't work as well in drama.
Yeah.
But something that undercuts the main story with a little bit of like, well, that's not really what's going on.
The one I had earlier was the one-off live episode, like 30 Rock did. Because what's so interesting is it's really hard to enjoy these things after the fact. I mean, if you're doing like a TV binge, obviously you throw it in there.
Sure.
But like when you watch it live, like there's this big thing of, I just want to see what happens. Like,
And there's a bit of the NASCAR like, I'm here to watch a wreck.
Yeah.
Like,
although the thing is, 30 Rock is a good example of you're watching to see if they fuck it up. But it's all the more impressive when they don't.
Because they don't,
it's exciting.
No, they skate and they land the jump and everything. Like it's great.
All of the flashbacks where they get other actors to play them.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing Tina Fey, and there's a bit where he says, "Lemon, you look great," and she's like, "Well, I've got Seinfeld money." it's like my younger self has Seinfeld money or something. It's a great little.
I love that they always have to do 2 coastal iterations of it.
Yep.
So like when you rewatch them later, there's like, is it Paul McCartney that was a guest on one of the 30 Rocks, and there was like a Kardashian on the other one.
Yeah.
Like I remember that drove me nuts. Of like, that's not an equal celebrity swap.
So I loved both live episodes of 30 Rock, and when I rewatched it, they didn't have the same spark, and I think that's it. It's like this isn't really live.
I kind of get that with like going back and watching old SNL, like even SNL that I like. Yeah, the skits hold up, but the entire episodes they're really hard when you get more than like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Back.
Jonathan Habmichael says, "Hi, dudes. Mike Flanagan really loves working with a stable of actors for his movies, and The Haunting of Hill House. What really got me was how similar Lulu Wilson, young Shirley, and Elizabeth Reeser, older Shirley, looked. You may remember Lulu Wilson as Camille's late younger sister in Sharp Objects, but I remember her the most as the creepy little girl from Mike Flanagan's Ouija, Origin of Evil, also starring Reeser as the mother. Seeing actors who formerly played his mother and daughter playing different versions of the same character felt eerily perfect. What are some of your favorite casting on characters' families or past and future selves?"
Honestly, Hill House did such a phenomenal job. We discussed earlier the Timothy Hutton, Henry Thomas. Putting both. If you'd just told me those actors, I don't think I'd have said yes. But it works so well. But the siblings, the girls, look so similar. But not the same. They look of the same family genetics. And they all look enough like Carla Gugino or Gugino.
Yep.
It's astonishing casting. I was really, really amazed. I know the girl that he's talking about as well that was in Ouija. She was just in Lady World as well. She is a phenomenal actress, and I really hope will be in a ton of stuff.
So the problem is I know I have answers to this, but I can't call back any of them. I'm trying to think of like where I've seen a really good younger actress.
You know, this one comes from films, but I thought it was really clever in Black Panther when they did like the Marvel Knights Black Panther.
Yeah.
That actor was actually the son of the actor who plays T'Challa's father.
That's cool.
Oh, interesting.
The Lost in Space Netflix thing, when they finally do the backstory on Parker Posey's Dr. Smith, and we find out that like she stole that jacket off of like a real doctor on the ship. The real doctor that's knocked down on the ground that's like, "Help me," and she steals his jacket and runs. That's Will Robinson from the original show.
Oh, that's funny.
I was wondering, like, he had one of those parts where you're like, okay, I know that was a cameo, but who the hell are you?
So I sometimes there's shows where like they're going to have to do this, and you're going to notice this one weird actor that doesn't fit with the show wander through and like, oh, you were part of the original. But a lot of times I do enjoy that. Like, nod back and like if you do a new Knight Rider, find Hoff something to do somewhere.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's been stuff where like they found that person's doppelganger.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not coming up with anything specific, but I'm always impressed when they do it, and that's a tribute to like good casting. All right, final question, Jonathan Huffnagel. Dear TV dudes, I have a request for your Patreon this week, though if you don't have time, maybe you can answer this question on the show instead. There are some fantastic horror movie deaths. I've always loved the one in Deep Rising, when they shoot the giant tentacle and the half-melted dude falls out, looks at his half-digested hand, and screams in horror. Everyone finds something different, scary, disgusting, chilling, or awesome. It would rock if you could each make a quick list of 8 to 10 to 20 of your favorite horror movie deaths. I would love to see what each of you choose, how they rank compared to each other, and why you chose them.
Oh, wow.
Who has ever made a quick list of 10 to 20?
See, that's
Never.
the thing. No,
Never.
I got a quick list of 10 to 20
numbers. That makes more sense
numbers.
as the Patreon thing, though. Like, so if we do this as a Patreon, and I think we got to rope Grant in, like we should really sit and think about this and do this one.
Yeah, you need time to research.
Oh, I'm just giving him a hard time.
No, like for a Patreon, we should come up with a list of 10 and rank them.
Yeah, but just anybody
like
have
two?
favorite? Anybody have any favorite movie death? Okay.
So I've got to. Even though it's not a great movie, and Donald Sutherland was apparently a horrific person during it.
Okay.
The Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie that Joss Whedon still talks trash about sometimes.
Yeah. Which I was watching earlier today and holds up pretty well, to be honest.
I think it holds up great. If you don't know what he meant to do with Buffy, it's a fine movie.
Yeah,
if you realize what he was intending to do, you can see how this would be frustrating as fuck.
And the thing is,
Sutherland refused to learn the lines because he thought they were stupid. Paul Rubens' death.
Yeah, Paul
Rubens' death in that movie. It was at a time when Rubens was persona non grata. And even though he was still the funniest man on my television, he couldn't be on my television. He has this death scene that goes on for the entire credits, I think. Like it's like 10 minutes. Yeah. Like every time it cuts back to him, he's like, like just writhing from it, like, it just goes on, and it is priceless.
Yeah.
I had another. So I was just telling y'all earlier I watched Final Destination 5.
Yep.
Which I love the Final Destination franchise just for weirdly slow motion, perfectly crisp deaths.
Yep.
And even though 2, 3, and 4 are pretty much terrible, diminishing returns. 2's all right, 3's
okay.
Yep. Right. 5 is great. And it has Nicholas D'Acosta from Trial and Error and also David Kirchner from Anchorman and everything. There's a death in it that is... It spends 5 minutes showing you this frayed power cable with an air conditioning unit dripping near it, and like a bolt missing from a bar, like, or coming loose from a gymnastics bar, and like you're like in a gym with all these gymnast training. They show you all these things setting up this death, right? That are going to be like huge. Like this is going to fall into that, and a fan blade's going to come off, and this is going to electrocute the girl, and this is none of that shit happens. One girl steps on a tack on a balance beam, screams, grabs her foot, and falls. And when she falls, she hits the tray of rosin or whatever, chalk for your hands. The chalk cloud blows past the girl on the bar, and in like one move, this girl that's swinging on the uneven parallel bars comes off of it, hits the ground on her face, and her legs like... Her back bends completely back. So you watch 5 minutes of intricate setup of like, oh my God, 8 or 10 things are going to chain together to make this weird mousetrap death. And then like in less than a half a second, it goes as fast as like the Cannonball and the Patriot or something. Like she hits the ground and like her feet are ahead of her face, and one hand, it's amazing prosthetics. You know they've got her standing in a hole with like fake legs over her, but it allows the actress to keep moving one hand while she's laying there, and people rush around. Like, it's so sudden in a horror movie. I know a million people are going to die in. I gasped. And rewound it. Like, oh shit! Like, it's not a horror movie death. It's just a very unglamorous, very sudden. There's a movie called Buffalo Soldiers with Joaquin Phoenix, where and Ed Harris, military in Germany. They have a guy die at the start of it. They're playing football with a Nerf football inside the dorm, like, so there's bunks everywhere, and there's a table, like a metal table. Dude jumps back to catch the ball, falls into the table, and it cracks the back corner of his head.
Wow!
And he's dead when he hits the ground. And like it's a movie death. Like I love shit like that. I love a movie death where like in a fight movie, in a Rocky movie, you'd get up or a Rambo, you'd get up a million times. Like you'd have like eight bullets in you. But this ain't that movie.
This is $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, exactly. like oh, you caught the corner of the chair wrong. Now you're paralyzed. Yeah.
I love. This is a weird one. I don't know where this came from, but when I was a little kid, pre-puberty, I used to think like, and I feel like I saw this on a television show, the worst way to go would be getting lured into a swimming pool by a hot lady in a swimsuit, all right? What she does is she goes to kiss you, but only under the water. You go under the water to kiss the hot lady, and then what does she do? She handcuffs you to the ladder. Now you're trapped underwater to drown, and she's not kissing you.
This is awful, man.
This was my fear as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Like, I don't know where I saw this.
That is very, very specific.
Yes, I saw this.
What were your swimming lessons like?
I was actually a pretty good swimmer. I mean, with fears like this, you have to be.
And an all right kisser.
But speaking of, not so good at the kissing. But no, speaking of like swim deaths, there's like 1 million awesome deaths in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
But I just rewatched it, and I had a double appreciation for when the merman kills Bradley
Yes.
Whitford at the end.
Finally gets to see a merman.
Yeah.
Yes, just for the blowhole of all the guts. I think my favorite in Cabin in the Woods is the bug on the windshield ravine jump.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause it's such a shocking moment.
I gasped in the theater.
Oh my gosh! This time I watched it. Shannon was watching it for the first time. I was glued on her face the whole time. And she's like,
Has
"What
anybody
is
watched
it?"
the Cube movies recently?
No.
Oh hell yeah!
You've never seen any of them?
Nope.
So it's like a one-act play, and it's a really limited set, and they're fascinating just from a set construction standpoint. But all these people wake up in a cube room, and there's doors on each side, like up, down, side.
Yeah.
And each room is another cube, and each cube has a death trap in it, or most of them do. And these people don't know why they're there, and so it turns into a very high concept sci-fi. They've made 3 of these.
It's a little Portal-ish if you didn't have like a cool portal gun.
Okay.
Yeah, if you were just having to keep walking from room to room. And so they try to figure out how to tell if rooms have traps, and basically it gives them this plot device for an like endless Saw type number of fucked up death traps.
And you only need one set, a cube.
Yeah.
You make it red, that's the fire cube.
Right.
You make it blue, that's the ice cube.
Sure.
You start realizing like how efficient their set construction could be. And like you build one, I think they built one big one that they could rotate, and I think they built a second one that was watertight.
Okay.
That they could flood.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So the Cube movies are just an endless series of deaths, but you get a lot of like sprayed with acid, cut with a grid of lasers, and then fall into cubes, and like all the just like what can the CG boys cook up?
The best, I love, like they do this in Shane Black movies, and then there's this movie that came out, Free Fire.
Yes.
I love when like it's the slow bullet death, where like you can hear the guy in the other room like, because he got hit by a ricochet, or like just somebody won't die. They're just like bleeding out.
And is Free Fire Ben Wheatley? I think that.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man,
Never
he did
get
High
around to that.
Rise.
It's on my list. I've not got around
Free
to it.
Fire's
I got
fun.
a copy you can borrow.
This is weird. I don't watch a ton of horror movies. I watch them in Halloween times, so I don't remember a lot of like fantastic deaths. But I do remember one specific death scene that stuck with me. That's from RoboCop, when the dude gets turned into a toxic mutant, and then he like sprays all over.
That for $1.
Sprayed all over the cop cars and crashes. That was such an effective use of makeup and stuff. It's so gross.
Everyone should know right now, Amazon Prime, that version of RoboCop is the unrated version.
Yeah, it's like there's more blood
like
and guts.
7 or 8 more minutes. It is the NC. It is the version you did not see.
And at least 2 minutes of that is Ed 209 pumping bullets in that poor
that
corporate
scene
sub.
is fucked up, man. The Ed 209 corporate scene goes longer, and it's crazy.
Yep, he just turns him into a hamburger.
Yeah.
Have either of you guys seen Hobo with a Shotgun?
Yes.
Nope.
Oh, if you like RoboCop violence, Hobo with a Shotgun is just like
Hobo with the Shotgun, Rutger Hauer.
11.
It's in the same vein as Badass and Badass 2, and
yeah.
All right, that's our questions and our show for the week.
I feel remiss earlier when we talked about Sabrina that I did not bring up the fact that if you've not seen the show Lost Girl, it is the same basic setup. There's a light and a dark, and you're a half-breed, and you haven't chosen, and there's a prophecy, and you have to sign your name on this side of the book or the other. Like, you've got to make a decision, and she refuses to. The tone is obviously... There's nothing quite like Sabrina that I've ever seen.
Right.
Lost Girl is super sexy, Canadian-made sci-fi show.
Yeah.
And it deals with, like, she's fairy. Like, so it's every fairy creature in fantasy instead of horror.
Right.
So instead of demons and devils and magic, it's fairies and the Fae Court and Oberon and stuff like that. But there's where Sabrina ends up with the whole season really being about whether or not she will join this coven and what that will mean for her long term. So much of that plot parallels what I loved about Lost Girl, and that show ran 4 or 5 seasons. So if you finish the first part of Sabrina and you want more of that similar like chosen girl who won't pick a side, as opposed to going back to the million Skywalker boys of that same plot, there is another show where you can go watch a girl make some of these same decisions, and it's badass.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, and on that note, we will see you guys next week, and until that time,
TV Dudes out!
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.